right, welcome back to, I guess, another episode here of the Vanport Bowling News video podcast. Let's call it a vlog or something like that. We'll figure it out later, but that's what it is right now, and here we are. And with me today is Kevin Hong. He is in the Seattle area. Many youth bowlers and youth bowlers' parents know Kevin from the Facebook page Northwest Youth Bowlers. Kevin, welcome to our little episode here.
Thanks, Jim. It's a real privilege to be invited on, and I just want to compliment you on the great job that you're doing with the rebooted bowling news. Media is hard to make it in media, and a lot of times we wear a lot of different hats. I come from a newspaper background, so I used to work in the news industry, and I got out of that business just because it's hard to make a go of it in media. So I appreciate what you're doing to get the word out. But thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
20 years in radio journalism here in the Portland area, and I can't tell you, as election season draws closer, how much I don't miss being inside a newsroom in November of election year. But in any case, I digress. Kevin, so we want to talk to you about a couple things today, and let's start with youth bowling, because that seems like a pretty big passion for you. Right now, you're the moderator of the Northwest Youth Bowlers on Facebook. First of all, you told me this before we started here, but tell us again, tell the people watching, how did that start? How did you get involved with that?
I've been bowling since I was like 7 or 8. I bowled with my parents. My parents met actually in a youth league. And so, I started bowling, youth league when I was 9, and I just bowled my entire life, and I bowled all throughout my adult life. And been an ABC and YABA and now USBC member pretty much as far back as I can think. But, so I, even when I went adult, I continued to coach. I've been doing, the last 15 years or so, I've been coaching adults and youth. I'm a silver level USBC coach, and I was coaching a few youth bowlers here in Seattle maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, and I was trying to find them some tournaments and things to bowl. So I was on Facebook, and I was in the Northwest Youth Bowlers group, and gathering some information on tournaments, and then sometimes the moderators then would ask questions, and I would chime in and things like that. And so I was a regular contributor. I was posting information about events that I knew about. And then the two guys that started it kind of aged out. They had aged out long before, and they said, well, we're kind of getting tired of, running the group. We're looking for someone to take it over. And so they asked me if I would be interested in taking it over. So that's kind of how that started. And then sort of by default, when you're running a youth bowlers group, people ask you, do you know if there are any junior gold qualifiers in this city or in this region, Eastern Washington? They were looking for some tournaments and junior gold qualifiers, and there weren't a whole lot. So I said, well, I'll come out and run one. If you promote it and find some bowlers and find some sponsors, I'll come out and run a scratch tournament for you in Wenatchee or Spokane. So it's just kind of I took over the Northwest Youth Bowlers group, and so I tried to keep youth bowling going and adult bowling going. I'm also the tournament director of the Seattle Masters in January every year. Tried to keep it going because the organization that ran that folded, and so just tried to keep bowling alive for the segments of the population that want it. It's really been an important part of my life, and youth bowling was a big part of my life growing up, and I want to see people have the same opportunities that I've had and to get them the same enjoyment out of it that I've had.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. Why is it so important? And it's one of those dumb reporter questions that we must ask, but why is it so important that we keep youth bowling alive?
Because to me, youth bowling is it's an outlet for a lot of kids that might not have the opportunity participate in what you might call regular sports. A lot of kids who aren't built for, which people sometimes consider real sports. I say that in quotes, but that I'm probably speaking for a lot of non-bowlers when they say, well, what about a real sport? What about like basketball, football, volleyball, swimming? And a lot of young people, who don't find success in a lot of team sports, because, maybe they're just, quite honestly, a little socially awkward, just haven't really been part of a team before, for a lot of, young people. And I bet, you could look at any youth league and a lot of adult leagues and you could find some people who are like this, people who just wouldn't get along in a team environment. It just wouldn't work out really well. Bowling appeals to them. Bowling is an individual sport. You're doing your own thing. You can be part of the team. You can compete on a team and travel with the team, but it doesn't require the same sort of team chemistry. You're still kind of doing your own thing. And so I think from the coaching that I've done and from my background as an educator that works with young people, bowling has a lot of appeal to kids, say, who are on the autism spectrum or maybe who have some social anxiety or challenges making friends or a little bit of social awkwardness. Bowling is right up there. I'm not going to use the pun, but it's right in their wheelhouse because they kind of keep to themselves, and bowling is really a sport where they find success, and there have been a lot of great players, and you could probably think of a few, right? A lot of great players in the history of our sport. Great, really talented, mentally talented players just did not get along real well with people, did not relate real well, but boy, bowling was a chance for them to shine because it catered to what they were good at. And so it's a great chance for young people who might not have other opportunities in sports and athletics to find success and be able to experience those same successes and overcome challenges the way a lot of kids do in other mainstream sports. I think youth bowling is so important. And
I think the old adage of, when you talk about bowling, anyone from the ages to 5 to 90 or even older can take part in it. And when you talk about those on the autism spectrum or those with other disabilities, it's still a sport/game that anyone can play.
And the bonus is you can do it in any weather. You can do it in sort of, it's a year-round sport. It doesn't have a season, and you can bowl in the summer if you want. You can take the summer off like I do. But it's a universal sport. It appeals to everybody. And I think the other great thing is you can approach it and go and delve into it kind of as deep as you want. So if you want to bowl every day and bowl a tournament every weekend and work toward becoming a pro, there are outlets for that. There's coaching. There's so much information out on the internet. We have practice facilities here in the Northwest. We have Off-Broadway Bowling Academy. We have so many wonderful coaches and facilities and bowling centers that will help youth that want to take it to the next level. If you just want to be a 3-game-a-week handicap league bowler and just have fun and drink some beverages and have a pizza with your pals, and you're not really interested in tournaments, there's an outlet for that. So all kinds of people can be successful. They want to be, and they can find in the sport as much challenge as they're seeking. So I think that makes it even more universal. You can be a pro if you want. You can be a once a week hack if that's what you'd like to.
Let's talk about how youth bowling has changed over the years. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I bowled, youth bowling in the 80s and early 90s. We didn't have a lot of what the kids today have, especially the scholarship opportunities. The smart accounts from USBC, while there may be some issues with that program, that's something that didn't exist, and that should be a huge interest to a lot of parents to know that your kids can just go bowl and earn money for school.
there are a lot of really talented youth bowlers in the country. Some of them from the Pacific Northwest, being the most well known of our recent graduates from our youth programs, who have made enough to pay for all of college and then some, and just to again tell parents that you can pay for college for a good chunk, if not all of college, just from bowling, and you don't have to be like a scratch bowler. We have a lot of handicap tournaments that pay just as much for bowling 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a weekend. We've had our local JBT organization, the Junior Bowlers Tour, has crowned champions as young as 5 or 6, and they get a first place scholarship prize and a plaque, and it's really a wonderful sport. I'm in the same boat as you. We're probably about the same age, but I grew up bowling in the 80s and didn't have a lot of the coaching.
Right.
And we had Saturday morning coaches, but we didn't have like individual coaches who we could go see that could take us, maybe work with us to the next level. We didn't have the technology that we have now. We have training centers that can monitor the speed and rev rate, and they can tell you what fraction of a board your ball is on at, 39.2 feet every single shot after shot. We have pin spotters that set the same spare over and over. I would have loved to have a facility where I could have set up the baby split, and I'm a lefty, so that the 2-7 for me, the right side, the right side bucket, 3, 5, 6, 9. I would have loved to just shoot those, because I make them sometimes, but I'm not 100% on them. And of course that pesky 7-pin, I just love to have a place where I could go where I could shoot them over and over. And now you have youth bowlers who are showing up at sessions for like 14 years old, and they leave 5, 10 pins in a row. They're not scared of them. They make every single one of them because they're so well practiced. The coaching and the training opportunities are so plentiful now compared to them. And just as, most Northwest bowlers, anyone who's done any bowling in Seattle is probably aware of Leilani Lanes, the sort of iconic Seattle landmark. And I used to bowl the junior Swiss there with some teammates from Leilani, and I think the prize was trophies. I don't think they gave out any scholarships, at least when I bowled. If they did, they weren't very high, very big ones. I don't remember them. But I remember that every year when we bowled the Swiss, there'd be a team from Spokane and a team from Portland. And I remember being amazed, like, wow, those guys came from out of town to bowl this. It just wasn't something that I had heard of very much. It didn't occur to me like to go to Idaho to bowl a tournament, or to go to It's just, tournament bowling to me was city once a year in Seattle somewhere, and then, maybe we go to state if it was only like 3 hours away. If it was, across the state in Spokane, that might have been a little too far. But now you've got kids that they're gone every weekend of the month. They're bowling somewhere. There's something, that's the great thing, is if you're a youth bowler and you're willing to travel and your family's willing to get you there, there's something to bowl every week of the month. And there might, one of them might be in the next state over, but there's just so much stuff out there. And, a lot of it's on tougher conditions, and these kids want to seek out tough conditions. They're not afraid of them. They don't complain. They groan when a tournament's on a house shot, because they know that, they've been training, and a lot of them go, they bowl on. They don't want to bowl on a house shot. They want to make, shots on flat conditions and have to shoot spares, and they're not happy, with a 240 average finishing third or something like that. They want to grind. They've been practicing it. That just didn't exist when I was younger. I had no clue of that there was a difference between, league conditions and pro conditions. And the knowledge base of today's youth bowler is just so incredibly different from anything it's ever been. And so I'm always in awe of the talent pool that's out there when I go to a youth tournament or when I run one, just how good some of these young players are. It's just really amazing. That's why, again, another reason why I think we need to keep it going and open up those opportunities and tell people about the opportunities that this is a really good time to be a youth bowler. There's scholarship money out there. There's great coaching, but the youth have to want it and they have to find the opportunities. And a lot of them don't know about the opportunities because, we don't advertise it very much. We advertise it to bowlers, but we don't really reach out to people outside of the community. How do you get somebody who doesn't bowl to join a league and want to get better?
Yeah.
That outreach is still hard.
I think you brought up something else that's great, to make sure people understand why youth bowling is important is the memories. You brought up the memory of going to Leilani. Growing up, I bowled at 20th Century Lanes here in Portland. And every year we'd go up to Sports World in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And It was a house challenge, it was Sports World versus 20th Century. And, those were some of the best memories I ever made as a youth bowler. So the memories are there too. I think we want to make sure that we let our kids know that these are going to be good times, whether you're a good bowler or not so good bowler, you're going to have a good time at league. And in these tournaments as well.
And Jim, if I could, my challenge to everybody listening to this is take someone bowling. Take someone who doesn't bowl. Take them bowling. Even if it's just, invite them to a bowling party or take them to practice with you. That's, like I said, I went with my parents. They were bowlers. They met in a league. And so they introduced my sister and me to bowling. We were destined to become bowlers, but I can't tell you how many people that I have bowled with or crossed with or I've gotten to know through the sport where I said, how'd you get involved? And they said, well, I went to a birthday party or somebody took me or my friend bowled and I came and watched them. And then when I saw them do it and I wanted to try it and then I was hooked. Or I threw a ball for bowling and I got on the end lane and I threw a little house ball and I wanted to try it. So everybody who's a bowler now at one time in life was not a bowler, and it took somebody taking them or showing them or introducing them. That's how you keep the sport going. That's how you keep bowling centers in business. And unfortunately, right now we have a lot of other things that are competing for the entertainment dollar. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of screens. There are a lot of options that don't even involve leaving the house. Like you can stay home and you subscribe to all these services and you can get entertained on your couch and watching screens. So it's hard to convince people to take up something where it's like, oh, I have to leave the house and I have to go, 30 weeks out of the year and I have to get home at 10:30 at night. It's challenging to convince people still that that's something that's worth doing. Implore everyone out there, take somebody out there and teach them how to bowl. And they may stick with it, they might not, but that's how we spread the love is you introduce somebody to it.
Absolutely. Now, of course, one of your big loves for bowling is the youth sports. You do a great job with that. Something else you do. You mentioned earlier that you are a former journalist, and you did photography for journalism as well. And you have a website. It's called vintagebowling.net. I encourage everyone to go check it out. We'll make sure we put a link on this page as well. But it's Maple and Pine American Bowling Comes of Age. Go ahead and tell us what that's all about.
Well, like I said, I grew up in Seattle. I bowled at Leilani, which was a classic Brunswick Gold Crown wood house when I started there. My parents met at Imperial Lanes, which was a classic Brunswick Gold Crown, had the long ball turns and the telescope table. All these places. I used to practice at Village village lanes in the U District of Seattle, the U Village area, which was a 32 lane, really dark inside, AMF, Magic Triangle, wood lanes, 8230 pin spotters. Those were the kinds where they had the pins that hung down from the table. And so you could see them feeding in, as they loaded. And then they were so loud because the pins were clanking around in the pinwheel. And when the table was full, the pins just kept clanking around and dropping down and spinning around in the pinwheel until the next set. So they were really loud. And so I just grew up with all this vintage equipment. And then so for many years, I bowled adult league. I went off to school to get a journalism degree and bowled adult league for many years. And then probably around 2012, I think it was, I was bowling in a small center in Connell, Washington, called Town and Country Lanes. And I walked in and I just felt like I had been transported to like 1985 Leilani or Imperial. It just looked like that, old wood lanes, very bare bones, above ground ball returns, single lane masking units with the crowns that light up. And I just felt like I feel like I had been transported back to my childhood. And my first thought was, boy, I haven't seen a place that looks like this in a long time. And as I mentioned, I used to be a newspaper journalist, and I don't do that anymore. I'm in the education field now, but I still enjoy doing photography. And so I thought, well, I've got to like take a picture of this because this place might not be around for much longer, and people, I want to show this to people. And cool thing that I saw, because it was cool. You don't see a lot of above ground ball return places anymore, wood lanes and that kind of stuff. So I snapped a picture with my cell phone and I posted it on Facebook, and I showed it to a few people, and people were like, that's really cool. Yeah, you never see that anymore. And so then I started to make a list of like places that I could go around Seattle, and I came up with a list of within a couple hours of my house, I probably could go to like 5 or 6 of them, anywhere from 6 to 12 lanes, old school 50s, 60s furnishings. So I gradually just started taking these photos and I would post them on Facebook, and I started a page to kind of display them. And and then I had enough people following, I started a website, and so that's all into is today known as Maple and Pine, vintagebowling.net. I also have a Facebook page that's Maple plus Pine, where I just post pictures, post my travels. So in the years that have passed since 2012, when I first started this, I've gotten invitations to go. I have a candlepin house in Massachusetts. Would you like to come see it? I'll put you up for a few days and take you to dinner. So I was like, okay. I've always wanted to go to New England. So a few years ago, I went to New England for a couple of days, and I had the best time visiting and trying candlepins and duck pins.
Wow.
New England's the only place where you can do this. So if you want to do it, you have to go. Like you have to get on a plane and go. There's no substitute, right? And then I had someone else say, well, you should try 9 pins. There's, German 9 pins in San Antonio. It's the only place that it still exists because, this is the form of bowling that was brought over from Europe in the 1800s. And then when the ABC formed and, they standardized all the equipment and the pins and the balls and the distance between the pins in a rack and they standardized the 10-pin game. So 9 pins, even though that was the original form of bowling, kind of fell out of favor. And so the only way that 9 pins could be kept going is if people kept doing it, like people kept offering it. So 9 pins, the way the Germans played it, still exists, but only in like 20 little private clubs, these little 4-lane or 6-lane clubs in San Antonio. It's the only place you can find it in this country. It's all hand set because, as you know, they never standardized a pin setter for 9 pins. They standardized a pin setter for 10 pins, and ABC approved those. But if you want to keep 9 pins going, you keep your score and have humans set the pins and roll the ball back to you. So I've actually been in, and I've done that twice in San Antonio, and it is a blast. I recommend if you're ever in San Antonio and you're a bowler and you want like a real museum experience, go visit a 9-pin club. You have to be a member to bowl, but anyone can stop in and visit. They'll probably let you throw a shot if you want to try it, before league. But it's like bowling sort of at its most basic, like what it's all about. It's about people getting together to have fun, and they, everyone is a member of the club. You join it, so people don't kick the equipment, right? They all feel a sense of ownership. They're there for fun, They're there to have fun and keep history going. And it's so much fun to go to a 9-pin club and just chat with people. People had nothing in common with most of them. I don't know a thing about them, but we all love bowling. And so we have that to talk about. And because I'm a 10-pin bowler, I can sit there and go, do you guys bowl 10 pins? And then we compare like what I think the difference is between 10 pins and 9 pins. And then they will say, well, yeah, I used to bowl 10 pins, but I got tired of, everyone complaining about the oil and stuff like that. And then you bowl on 9 pins, hand oiled lanes where you're basically just trying to hit the one in front, and, you're not really worried about your score because you're having a good time. And, you remember to tip the pin setter at the end of the night. And that's to me, that's what it should be about. I think we get really caught up in, controversies and, bowling balls and banned equipment and, should people switch to this ball, or, should that ball be banned?
Yeah.
These versus righties, two-handers versus one-handers. There's so much that people get riled up about that it's kind of fun to just go bowl and just have fun in its most sort of basic form and have it be about the camaraderie. So, and
yeah. If you haven't been to his website, it's vintagebowling.net, and pictures of those 9-pin centers are up there now. You can go look at that, along with 5 pins, 3 pins, East Coast, all sorts of different things, even rubber ducks. I suggest you all go look at that. Also, you can find him on Facebook at Maple Plus Pine. You can do that, and he's also the moderator of the Northwest Youth Bowlers Facebook page. So if you have any questions about anything that has to deal with Northwest Youth Bowling, you can find Kevin there. Kevin, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Jim, this is a real honor, and I hope people will come check the sites out and let me know what they think. And always glad to share stories about a center that you think I should go to. There's still a few I haven't been to, and probably some I don't know about. So if you know of a bowling center somewhere in the U.S. that looks like it's straight out of the 50s, let me know, and I'll put it on my list. And I've gone to a lot of the ones that were on my list that people suggested. So thank you.
Great to hear. Well, Kevin, thanks so much. All right, everyone. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time here.
Bye.